Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Krutik Naik, third-year resident in Department of Pharmacology at Mumbai Medical College, Surat. It brings me immense pleasure to welcome all the participants to the webinar on the understanding of bioassay to its very core. Today brings us all a new achievement, gathering students, residents, and faculties from all over the India. This would not have been possible without the guidance of our founder, Dr. Arvind Singh Panwar. We are also honored by the presence of our HOD ma'am, whose wisdom has always been the core of what could be in the best interest of the students, not just in the campus, but all around. I would like to take a moment to invite Dr. Anupama Desai ma'am to introduce guest for our today's webinar. Ma'am, over to you.
A very good morning to one and all. On behalf of IPUN, I, Dr. Anupama Desai, extend a very warm welcome to everyone at this national academic session. IPUN, the Indian Pharmacologists United Network, is a registered national organization of pharmacologists committed towards advancing education, research, and collaboration across India. In a very short span from when it was founded, IPUN has grown into a pan-India academic platform which connects students, residents, and faculty through its impactful scientific initiatives. We are also extremely pleased to share that IPUN will soon be launching its official website along with a structured national membership program, including a national executive committee which will consist of one member from each state, a state executive, the various state executive committees with around 10 members per state, and even general memberships for both professionals and students. IPUN is guided by the vision of its founder director, Dr. Arvind Singh Panwar, whose leadership has been instrumental in shaping this national academic program. Regarding today's topic, this topic was decided on a very huge demand from pharmacology students, both undergraduate, second-year students, and postgraduate students who are pursuing pharmacology. Bioassay, a step-by-step calculation, is what we will be talking about today. In today's session, we will comprehensively cover what is bioassay, the various types of bioassays, log and anti-log calculations, matching bioassay calculations, bracketing bioassay calculations, interpretation of bioassay calculations, interpolation bioassay, three-point bioassay concepts, step-by-step problem solving, and mathematical demonstration. To present today's topic, it is an honor for me to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Anant Patil Sir, who is an MD in Pharmacology and a professor from the Department of Pharmacology at D.Y. Patil Medical College, Navi, Mumbai. Dr. Anant Patil does not require any introduction. He is extremely respected for his strong academic expertise, his extremely clear and structured teaching methodology, his ability to simplify complex pharmacological concepts into logical and very easy to understand frameworks. He has mentored various undergraduate and postgraduate students and is especially known for making challenging topics like bioassay both approachable and also very, very clinically relevant. We are also proud to announce that there are 300 participants, 300 plus from across India, including undergraduate students, pharmacology residents, and faculty members. So without taking up any more of your time, let us begin this session with the aim of transforming bioassay from a difficult topic into a clear, logical, and highly manageable concept. Thank you. I now hand over the stage to Dr. Anant Patil Sir. Sir, a very warm welcome from all of us, and thank you in advance for what I know will be an extremely, extremely interesting session, sir. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Anupama Madam, for the kind introduction and setting the stage for today's session. Dr. Krutik, thank you so much for coordination of all this activity, and importantly, thank you, Panwar sir, for inviting me to give this important talk. So what we do is in the next maybe 1 hour, possibly it will go slightly more than maybe an hour. So we'll be discussing about step-by-step calculations of the bioassay. And in the process, I will speak less theory, but more of a practical aspect of the bio calculation. So can you please confirm with my slide is visible and I'm clearly audible to you all?
Yes, sir. It's perfectly visible and the audio is very clear to all of us.
Thank you. So for next 1 hour and maybe 10-15 minutes, this is what is the plan for the session. As Dr. Anupama Madam already mentioned about what we discuss. So briefly, we'll start with, when we go ahead with the bioassay, let's first understand what is assay. Then we will talk about what is bioassay. Then there are different types of bioassays. And the focus for today's discussion would be about different types of bioassays, including matching, bracketing, interpolation, 3-point, even the 4-point, but I will not go into the 4-point and 6-point assay. And as a pharmacologist, I think it's very important for us to understand log and anti-log calculation, because that is useful PK calculations also, as well as the bioassay calculations also. And once we do that, then finally we go and take a dummy exercise and start doing the calculation of the unknown concentration using the 3-point bioassay. And that would be mathematical calculations. I would be demonstrating step by step using Excel sheet. So the first part of the discussion is what is assay? Assay basically means estimation of something. So we estimate two things. Either we qualitatively estimate something or we quantitatively estimate something. So when I say qualitative estimation, for example, if there's a contraction of a tissue, what that substance could be, that's a qualitative. But if I want to check actual concentration, how much concentration is responsible for this response, that would be a quantitative assay. So the assay is estimation. We can do that qualitatively, we can do that quantitatively. Now there are different types of assays: chemical assay, immunological assay, radioimmunological assay, enzymatic immunoassay. But the focus for today's discussion is about the bioassay. Now let's focus about bio. We define what is meaning of assay. Assay is estimation. If I do that estimation using a biological tissue, either it could be whole animal or it could be isolated tissue. So estimating something either in the whole animal or in the isolated tissue, that is called as the bioassay. So we already defined what is the meaning of bioassay. So basically it's an assessment of something, finding out something. Now today's discussion would be about how do I check the relative potency of a test compound with that of a standard compound. Either I use the whole animal or I use the biological tissue. For today's session, we'll be speaking about biological tissue, not the whole animal. So now there are two things here. One is called test compound and the other is called as a standard compound. And I need to check what is the relative potency of the test compound versus the standard compound. That means suppose I want to do a bioassay, I need to have the standard compound whose concentration is known to me. And then somebody will give me a test compound and will ask me to find out what is the concentration of this compound, which is the test compound, as compared to the standard compound. And that measurement we will do, which is called the potency of the test compound with that of a standard compound. And as I said, we'll be discussing about the biological tissue. However, we'll also talk about which whole animal and which compounds can be used for assessing using the whole animal. So there are basically 2 or 3-fold objectives of the bioassay. The first objective is that I can find out what is the unknown compound given to me. I can also find out the quantity, the concentration. So identification of unknown compound and quantification. Now these bioassays can be performed in the academic educational activity. They can also be performed by the pharmaceutical industry on a commercial basis. So now, having understood the objective that we need to find out the relative potency of unknown compound in comparison with the standard which is known and that is given to me for finding out the unknown concentration. That is what is the objective for today's discussion. Now, if the assay has to be performed, of course, we should know what is meaning of the ideal assay. And nothing is ideal. Go as close as possible. So ideal assay would be sensitive. It should be specific. It should be reproducible. It should be valid. It should be stable. It should be cost effective. It should be simple. I'm not going to go into details of all of this because this terminologies are self-explanatory. Because if we go into details, that will take more time. But the focus today is about actually calculating the unknown concentration and doing different kinds of bioassays. So as I said in the definition, that bioassay can be performed on the whole animal, or it can be performed using the isolated tissues. In our most of the academic activities, we use the isolated tissues. When I was a PG student way back from 2001 to 2004, we used to do the bioassay using guinea pig ileum. But there have been also the examples of using whole animal. For example, if you use the spinal cat, and we can do the assay for noradrenaline, that will show rise in the blood pressure. You can work with digitalis and so forth. You can read this slide. So basically, the take-home message from this slide is that the whole animal can also be used for doing bioassay. The focus for today is using the isolated tissue. And as I said, my personal experience during post-graduation was doing guinea pig ileum and estimating the concentration of histamine on the guinea pig ileum, which causes contraction of the guinea pig ileum. But since last 20-25 years, we have come a long way because I now understand that guinea pig ileum is very rarely used in college. Some colleges are using chicken ileum, and most of the colleges, they have shifted to the software-based bioassay estimation, obviously with the reasons of those 3 R's, which are expanded now into 5 R's. So 3 R's initially were replace the animals, reduce the animal, refine the process. And with that process, now we also have to understand how software-based education can be done for the bioassay with the same kind of theoretical method, but instead of practical, it would be using the softwares. Rat uterus, rat colon, that all can also be used. The discussion that I will be doing for next 1 hour would be focusing on the guinea pig ileum because that is where my experience lies. Assembly that most of you would have at least seen in the book. Some of you would have actually seen in the lab, or some of you might have actually worked on this assembly. So you can see there is a drum here. This drum is called as the kymograph. Then there is a lever. Then there is a writing pointer here. There is a fulcrum. And the tissue is attached here. Now imagine this is a guinea pig ileum. And guinea pig ileum, usually when you dissect the guinea pig, you discard about initial 10 centimeters from the ileocecal junction because there are some excitatory alpha receptors being present there. And then you take few centimeters of ileum, you tie it with a thread to this lever, and then you put on the concentration, different concentration of the test and the standard, and this guinea pig ileum, which is kept in the physiological salt solution so that it remains viable, and you start contracting with the help of unknown and the standard concentration. So once you put the concentration of the unknown and the standard here, guinea pig ileum is going to contract because we're assuming that it's a histamine, and those contractions will be transmitted from this thread to this lever, and they would be projected or maybe recorded on this moving kymograph. Generally, the speed is about 96 resolutions or revolutions per minute. Then, because it's a physiological salt solution, you have to maintain some concentrations of electrolyte, you have to maintain the temperature, you have to have the stirrer, you have to have the thermometer. So all of this basically is to make sure that this tissue which is there, it should remain viable and it should not lose its sensitivity. So that is where the whole objective of making it a physiological condition outside the body of the guinea pig. Now, having understood this, the physiological salt solution which I'm going to use to nurture or maybe nourish this guinea pig ileum, there are several solutions, but we have worked with the solution called as thyroid. And this is the composition of thyroid. You can see there are 7 elements into thyroid. On the middle maybe column, you can see the concentration of this different chemical in gram per liter. So if you take 1 liter of distilled water, in the distilled water 1 liter, you keep or you put all of these chemicals: sodium chloride 8 gram, sodium bicarbonate 1 gram, glucose 1 gram, potassium chloride 0.2 gram, calcium chloride 0.2 gram, magnesium chloride 0.1 gram, and sodium dihydrogen phosphate 0.05 gram. I have mentioned them in a decreasing order to just to remember. So you can see 8, then 1, 1, 0.2, 0.2, then 0.1, 0.05. So these are the concentration. We used to have a lab technician, which she used to help us with making this thyroid solutions. And if you look at the concentration in millimoles, this would be the concentration of different chemicals in the thyroid solution. And the functions we all know: why sodium chloride is required, why glucose is required, why potassium chloride is required. So I won't go into the function because these are all electrolytes and the nutrition for that tissue to survive outside the body in a physiological condition. Now, we have struggled a lot when we used to do biological assays with the guinea pig ileum, because many times you also will find those who actually worked on the living animal and the isolated tissues. Many times there are variations, and those variations are very common because there are so many reasons for these variations. Now, it's very easy to remember because variations are usually because of some kind of error. Either there's an error in handling the animal or housing of the animal. The animal might not have been fasted. There would be changes because of different species, gender, age, weight, health status. Now I can blame anybody. I can blame the animal house person. I can blame the technician who has helped me to prepare this. But I can blame myself also, because if I'm not sure about the dilution, how am I doing? And how much washing I'm going to give to the tissue. If I'm washing it too much, then there could be down regulation of receptors, and then the tissue may not contract. So basically, whenever there is no response or good observation that is seen, then the blame game would start. Somebody, the technician, would blame that you did not handle the process properly. We would say that the lab technician she did not help us in making the right physiological salt solution. So basically, now having understood these reasons, make sure that we take utmost precautions, because ultimately, when you are using an animal, you are sacrificing the animal for learning purpose, which is nowadays we don't do it because we have softwares. But if you are using animal for this animal experimentation, we have to do utmost precautions and minimize as much as possible these variations. So that was basic theory about bioassay. Now coming to different types of bioassays. My focus for today's discussion would be talking about matching, bracketing, interpolation, and 3-point bioassay. I will only give you the formula for the 4-point bioassay, but once you understand this 3-point bioassay in detail, there is no difficulty, or there should not be reason why 4-point bioassay is not understood, because just the formula changes and slight process changes in 4-point assay. So most of the points would be like a 3-point bioassay. So let's go one by one. So what I will do from here onwards is we will talk about what is each type of this assay, and taking a maybe hypothetical example as if we are actually doing bioassay and the tracings have been taken on the rotating kymograph. Now, when the graph is plotted or the tracings, they come on the kymogram, then that kymogram has to be fixed in a solution called as a shellac solution, which is diluted in the methanol. And then that tracing will get fixed on it. Once that tracing is fixed, then we take out that tracing and actually start calculating the length, the percentage response, and start doing these actual calculations. So let's start the first bioassay called as the matching bioassay. Before that, let me tell you the process, how the dilutions are made. So I told you that the technician would help us with the standard solution, and the concentration is told to us that this concentration is 1 milligram per ml, or this concentration is 1 microgram per ml. So this concentration is standard. The concentration would be known to us. Then another test tube would be given to us, which is called as a test. So there's some solution here, but we do not know what is the concentration of the test solution here. The concentration of standard is known. So now I need to find out the relative potency or the concentration of test solution in comparison with the standard solution. So finding out the concentration of the test solution, I can do matching assay, I can do bracketing assay, I can do interpolation assay, I can do 3-point bioassay, I can do even 4-point, 6-point also. Now, because some concentration is given to us here, I might have to use multiple concentrations, and that is where I have to do dilutions. So for example, this is the test tube of 10 ml. Now concentration is, say for example 10. I take 1 ml from this test tube and put it in another test tube. So 9 ml is already there. 1 ml I'm adding here. It's becoming diluted now. Again, further 1 ml I take and put it another 9 ml. Again, it is diluted. So we take 1 ml and put it into another 9 ml. So that becomes the dilution. So we have to have the serial test tubes with 10 ml. But the first is the actual concentration. Then we take out 1 ml from here and put the 1 ml in the 9 ml. So that becomes the 10 ml now. So this is how the serial dilutions of the concentrations they are done. And these test tubes, then we will be using for putting that concentration in contact with the isolated tissue, that is guinea pig ileum. And then we'll find out what is the contraction that I see and compare the contractions of the standard versus the contraction of test. Now, how do I put standards and test is how the types of assay will change. So let's now some little mathematics. Now, suppose you have we have studied this in our even schooling days. There's a rule called as a rule of 1000. So 1 kg is equal to 1000 milligram. 1 gram is equal to 1000 milligram. 1 milligram is equal to 1000 micrograms. So this is the rule of 1000. So remember this. Now suppose somebody gives you 1% solution. The technician says that this is a standard and this is 1% solution. That means that technician has added 1 gram of that chemical into 100 ml. Now this 101, we know 1 gram is nothing but the 1000 milligram. So the 1000 milligram have been added to 100 ml, which means 10 ml are present in 1 ml. 10 milligram is present in 1 ml, which means whenever you say this solution is 1% solution, then you know it is 10 milligram per ml. So you remember this conversion. 1% means 10 milligram per ml. If it is 0.1%, then obviously it will become 1 milligram per ml. Suppose this is 0.01%, then it will become 0.1 milligram per ml. So if it is 0.01%, then it will become 0.1 milligram per ml. So remember this, 1% means 10 milligram per ml. 0.1% means 1 milligram per ml. 0.01% means 0.1 milligram per ml. So this is coming from the mathematics, simple mathematics, that there is no pharmacology in it. So once we understand this, then we now go into actual bioassay calculations. So the first bioassay that I will be discussing is the matching bioassay. The name itself tells you that what I'm going to do. So basically, I'm going to match the contractions of the standard solution with the contractions that are shown by the unknown solution. And because I know the concentration of the standard one, I can match what would be the concentration of the unknown solution by doing some simple mathematics. So the easiest bioassay is matching bioassay, because I just have to match the contraction length and then see simple mathematical formula. So let's go ahead. Suppose the technician has given me standard solution and she says that this standard solution is 1 milligram per ml. Now what I do is I will take maybe 0.5 cc of this standard solution, because I know that if 1 ml contains 1 milligram, that means 0.5 ml would contain 500 microgram. Now what I do is I take the standard one, because she has given me the concentration strength. I take 0.5 ml and put it on the contact with the guinea pig ileum. Now the guinea pig ileum contracts and some contraction is seen here. So what I do is now she has given me the test solution, but I do not know what is the potency of the test. So I will take only in cc, because if she has given me 5 ml, I can take 0.5 ml from it. And now I put that 0.5 ml in contact with the tissue. Now, in between the standard and test, I have to give some rest to the tissue. Otherwise, there could be down regulation of the receptors. So once I give some rest, then I put the test. Now I'm trying to match the concentration or the contraction by the standard is here, but the contraction by test is coming here. That means I have to increase the contraction, maybe contraction or the concentration of T, so that I can match to the standard. So I keep doubling the dose. I keep the dose of the standard same. So standard was 0.5 cc, again standard is 0.5 cc, but it was not matching. So what I do is, instead of 0.5 ml, I take now 1 cc. Now 1 cc is coming here. Again, it is not equal to the contraction of the standard. Again, I give the standard. Between these two, obviously, as I said, the tissue has to be washed and the tissue has to be given some rest. Now I increase the dose again. So I have taken 0.5 first, then I have taken 1 ml, and then I have taken 2 ml. With this 2 ml, now my contractions are equal. Now, if I know what is 0.5 cc, because I know 0.5 cc is 500 microgram. Now this 0.5 cc is equal to 2 cc of the test. Now how much 1 cc would be the test? That is simple calculation. So let's now see what would be the calculation. So 0.5 cc, my standard, is equal to the 2 cc of the test solution. Now I know that 1 ml is containing 1 milligram, that means 1000 microgram. But I have taken 0.5 cc. So the 0.5 cc would be 500 microgram. So 500 microgram is equal to 2 cc, because this is also 500 microgram. But I need to calculate per cc, because 2 cc of the test contains 500, 1 cc of the unknown would contain 250 microgram. So now I go to the examiner and I say, the test tube that you had given me, it had an unknown concentration, and that unknown concentration I have estimated per ml, it contains 250 microgram of the histamine. So 250 microgram per ml is the concentration that is given me in the test tube for examination. So this is called as a matching bioassay. So simple mathematical calculation. You match the contractions of the standard with the test solution and keep doing this until this contraction becomes equal. You know the concentration of known. You have to calculate the concentration of unknown by using simple mathematics. So this is one of the simplest and easiest method, but it would have a lot of variabilities, and that's why we go to the next bioassay, which is called as the bracketing type of bioassay. Now bracketing word itself tells you the meaning. In matching, we just match the concentration, I mean the contraction of the standard with the contraction of the test solution. Now I'm going to bracket it. Bracket means the simple mathematical bracket is nothing but closing. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put some concentration in a bracket. That means now I will be using the bracketing method. You can see here the bracket. This bracket is, the T has been bracketed between S1 and S2. So again, the technician has given me the 2 test tubes. One test tube has a standard solution and the another test tube has a test solution. And the examiner has asked me to go for the bracketing bioassay. Now what I'm going to do is, I have already diluted the concentrations of the standard. I showed you how to do the dilution. Now I will take 2 concentration, S1, which is the standard 1 concentration, and standard 2 concentration. And then I will take some amount of the test solution. Before that, I will do a DRC. What is the meaning of DRC? Basically, it's a drug or the dose response curve. DRC is dose response curve. The standard which was given to me by the technician, I have done the serial dilution, and I keep doubling the concentration. 1 microgram, 2 microgram, 4 microgram, 8 microgram, 16, 32, 64, doubling the concentration. I keep doing this DRC until I get a ceiling response. Now I have got the ceiling response at 1024 and 2048. The ceiling response means even if I increase the concentration further, the response is not going to increase. So this is where I will stop my DRC because there is no further increase. Now, if I know what are the concentrations and what is the length of this contraction, then I take two solutions, S1 and S2, and I bracket the test solution in between. Now, what does it mean? Here, what I do now, that the dose in microgram was known to me. For example, here, whatever concentrations the response is seen, now I am putting that into Excel sheet. So this is the concentration. The response in centimeter, I can get the tracing. I can take a simple scale and find out how much centimeter is this contraction, how much centimeter is this contraction, how much centimeter is this contraction. So every contraction I will measure in a centimeter. You can see this row B. So 2 microgram has given me 1.5 centimeter contraction. So these two I can calculate from the DRC. But I have to convert these 2 columns into another 2 columns. The dose has to be converted into log dose and the response has to be converted into percentage response. Now, number one, why should we convert the dose into log dose? You can see here, the dose is ranging from 2 to 256. It might even go further, and it would be very difficult to plot these doses on a simple paper. And that's why if I convert this into log, the numbers become very small and I can accommodate large number of values on my log, maybe the log or the tracing. When I want to plot a DRC here like this, it would be difficult for me to take the scales here because the ranges would be too high. But you can see here, the log doses, I can accommodate large number of doses. That's the first advantage of converting dose into log dose. That these numbers, they become small and the scaling becomes easy on the log paper, semi-log paper or log paper. The response is converted into percentage response. This response is converted into percentage response. So I know the 7.75 response, it was the highest response 100 because for these 2 concentrations, I had got the maximum response. I consider that response as 100% response. If 7.75 centimeter is 100% response, then I will calculate the percentage response for other centimeters, 1.5, 1.75, 2.5, and this is a percentage response. So what I have done is, dose is converted into log dose and response is converted into percentage response. Now I plot the graph. I only take the column C and column D, log dose and percentage response. So on the x-axis, you can see log dose, and on the y-axis, you can see percentage response. This is called a semi-log plot. Why it is called a semi-log plot is because only on one axis we have used log, and the other axis log is not taken, the normal value is taken. Because on only one axis, the log is being taken, that is why it's called a semi-log. Now, obviously, the question will come is, why are you not taking a log on the y-axis? Because the values, they are not very large. I can very well place them in a scaling because the responses are from 20 to 100. So scale is fine. So I need not convert this into log. But these numbers are very large. These numbers are very large. And that's why only dose has been converted into log. Percentage response is not converted into log. So this is called as a semi-log. And simply I plot the graph here, which is called as the log dose versus response. Log dose versus response. For this particular section, I will plot the graph. So now I know that the height of S1 is 3 centimeter. From baseline up to here is 3 centimeter. Height of S2 is 4.245 centimeter. I can measure it with a scale. And I can measure the height even for the T, that is coming somewhere 3.25. Now I have the heights. Now I know what are the percentage responses, because the percentage response to 7.75% was 100% response. Having now known what are the types of responses that I got, if 7.75% is 100, then how much would be 3.25%? Because on the y-axis, I have percentage. I don't have a centimeter here. I have a percentages. So I have to convert this centimeter 3.25 into percentage. If 7.75 is 100%, how much would be 3.25? That comes to about 42%. So this response that I have got for T is 42% response. Now I go on the y-axis 40% is here. Now where would be the 42%, 41.94%? So on y-axis, the percentage is here, 42. Then I plot the horizontal line and then a vertical line. Now somewhere this concentration, T concentration, is coming to log 1.4, which means now next step would be I need to know how to calculate the anti-log of this. So if the concentration here is log 1.4, then the anti-log, it is about 25.11. So this concentration is nothing but the 25.11 microgram per ml. Now, obviously, we have to understand how to use log table and anti-log table. Here I have used the Excel writing the anti-log. Now, whenever somebody says log, generally it is the common log which has a base of 10, and that is why 10 raised to 1.4. So log contains base, natural log, sorry, not common log, it has a base of 10. So that's why anti-log would become 10 raised to 1.4, which becomes 25.11. Excel sheet calculation. I can use log table for doing this anti-log calculation 1.4, which we will be discussing in the coming slides. So that was about the bracketing. So matching is just matching the contraction of the known with unknown. Bracketing is basically you take two concentration, S1 and S2, and you bracket the test in between, find out what was the dose, convert that into log dose, measure what was the centimeter length, convert that into percentage, and put a DRC and do log anti-log calculation. So very simple, matching and bracketing. Now the third one is interpolation. We know extrapolation, but this is interpolation. So let's talk about what is interpolation. Much of the things of interpolation are similar to the bracketing. So the same thing, you take a DRC, then you find out the length, then you convert that into log, then you convert that into percentage response. So let's go one by one. Now the technician has given me two solutions. Number one is the standard, and number second, maybe test tube, she has said that this is unknown, and the examiner says that no, now you use interpolation assay and tell me what is the concentration of the unknown, and the known concentration is being told to you. So I will take the known concentration which is given to by the technician to me, and I do the same DRC like what I did for the matching assay. So 1 microgram, 2 microgram, 4 microgram, until I get the ceiling response. So this step is same like in the matching assay. The second step also is same. The dose is known to me. This dose is known to me. But when I want to plot that on a semi-log graph or the semi-graph paper, the numbers are very high, 1 to 20448. It would be difficult for me to plot them on the graph paper. So what I do is I convert them into log dose. You can see these numbers becomes very small. The second advantage of converting the dose into log dose, one I told you that the numbers become small and we can easily accommodate on the graph. Second advantage is that the graph becomes straight in the middle part. The sigmoid part, the middle part becomes straighter, and that's why doing calculations, they become little more precise as compared to the normal dosage. So two advantages of converting the dose into log dose. Number one, the numbers they decrease and it becomes easy to accommodate large number of values on the graph paper. And second is because the graph becomes straighter in the midline, calculating responses becomes easy, it becomes more precise. So this is how the dose is here. Log dose, I will use the log table. I'm going to show you how to calculate the log of each of these values. And then this has been fixed on the chymograph. Then in the shellac solution, I have fixed it. And by using the scale, I measure the centimeters. I know what are the centimeters here. For example, one has given me no response, so it becomes 0 centimeter. Whereas the last one, it has given me 7.7 centimeter. Now again, what we did in the matching assay, I will have another column here, which is nothing but the percentage response. So dose is converted into log dose, response is converted into percentage response. And again, I do the same graph plotting. On one axis, I take the dose, and on another axis, I take the percentage response. I do that same thing for unknown also. So unknown 0.1, 0.2, here it was in microgram. For unknown, I do not know what is the concentration. So what I do is for unknown, I take ml. instead of milligram, because I don't know what is milligram. This is unknown. That is what I've been asked to calculate the concentration. So I know the ml. So 0.1 ml, 0.2 ml, 0.4 ml, this is unknown DRC. Again, I keep repeating this. And this is my unknown ml, and this is the height in the centimeter. So same like this, height in centimeter. So now what I do is the percentage response, or I can have this height in centimeter. I can use both. I can use actual height also, because the numbers are not very large. So on x-axis, y-axis, I have kept the height, and on the y-axis, x-axis, I have taken the log dose. So log dose is here, and the height is here. And this was what was the standard. So this is the graph plotting of the standard. Log dose on the x-axis, and response in centimeter is on the y-axis. You can see very well, because it's a log dose, the graph has become sigmoid. And I have accommodated large number of values on the x-axis. Now, having done that, this was my unknown. 0.1 ml, 0.2 ml, 0.4 ml, 0.8 ml. So 0.8 ml had given me height of 6 centimeter. So 6 centimeter was the height by, so this is ml, and 6 centimeter was the height. So I draw a horizontal line on the graph, and then I take another line on the y-axis, x-axis. So this is about, for example, 2.61. So log dose has got 2.61. So I have used here the anti-log table, because this is a log. So I have to calculate the anti-log, and I'm going to describe you how to calculate anti-log using the log table. So the anti-log of 2.61. So anti-log of 2.61, because I said that the log means common log, which uses base as 10. So it will become 10 raised to. So 10 raised to 2.61, that becomes 407.38. So this is what is the concentration of the unknown that has been given to me. So this was the calculation that I used, Excel sheet for calculation, 10 raised to 2.61. But in the examination, you might not be given an Excel sheet, rather you will be given a log table. So log table also gives you exactly same value. See here, 407.38, which is in the log table, you get the value as 407.4. So whether you use Excel sheet or whether you use log table, but in the examination, it's better to use log table, and I'll show you how to use that log table. So this is the anti-log table. My next exercise is to tell you how to look for the log and anti-log. So you can see here, 407.4, the anti-log is coming here. 2.61, because 61 is here, and the value is 407.4. But don't bother looking at the log table right now. I will take you step by step how to look the anti-log of 2.61. So that was about the interpolation assay. So now we have spoken about the matching bioassay, bracketing bioassay, interpolation bioassay. Now coming to the most important one, 3-point bioassay. The noun name says that there are 3 points. Now what are these 3 points? Basically, 2 of the standard solution and 1 of the unknown. So you have 3 points, 2 points of the standard solution, 1 point of the unknown concentration, and that is what is called as the 3-point bioassay. Now, how does it differ from the matching, bracketing, interpolation? That is what we're going to discuss in the 3-point bioassay, which is also called as the multiple point bioassay. And I told you that there are multiple points assays. One of them is which is 2 standard and 1 concentration of unknown. I can do 4-point assay also. I can take 2 concentrations which are standard, 2 different strengths, 2 different strengths of the unknown. I can do 6-point assay also. 3 concentrations, different concentration of the known, and 3 concentrations of unknown. So multiple point assay is nothing but when you have the multiple concentrations that are taken and they are tested for their contraction or maybe whatever response you're looking on the animal. So 3-point bioassay means 3 means 3. Point means concentration. So you have 3 concentrations. So 3 different concentrations, of which 2 are standard and 1 is test. So the standard would be labeled as S1 and S2, and T is labeled as T. And then we take the dose response curve, DRC, and then we are going to calculate the concentration of unknown substance or the unknown solution that is given to me. Before that, we use the interpolation as well as bracketing, the log calculation. But both cases I showed you how to use the Excel sheet. Rather, now I will tell you how to use the log table. So log and anti-log calculation is one of the important things for the PG students to understand. I have taken this graph from the, log table from the NCERT's book. Although they have mentioned not to publish, this is for only demonstration purpose. So I have taken this log table. In my coming slide, there is an anti-log table also. So log table is here. There are two tables. This is first table, this is second table. So let me first tell you how to read this log table. Now you can see there are columns and there are rows. This is a column. So n is nothing but number. Numbers are given from 10 up to 99. So this is first column. Then there are rows 0 to 9. So we have to look at the column, we have to look at the row, and there's another table here. So there are table in table. So there's one table here, there's one table here. Again, you have numbers from 1 to 9. So look at the column, look at the row of the first table, and then look at the row of the second table. Having understood this, same thing applies for the anti-log also. You will find the same table there also. Now suppose I want to calculate the log of 372.4 using this log table. And the value comes as 2.5710. The number becomes smaller. I told you that the log of 372 is a big number, but the actual log becomes 2.57, and this is easy to plot on the graph. So this 2.5710, we have to read this in a log language. So 2 is called as characteristic and 5710 is called as mantissa. So mantissa is number which is after decimal, and character is nothing but the integer part. This is character and this is mantissa. So now let's see, if I want to calculate the log of 372.4 using this log table, the first thing that I need to do is see how many digits are there before decimal point. There is a decimal point here. There are 3 digits. Now I have to minus 1 from these 3 digits. So log of 372 will always be 2 point something, because there are 3 digits. Minus 1, it will become 2. If there are only 2 digits, 72, then this will become 1. So how many digits you have before the decimal point? Minus 1. That's the first step. Then what you need to do is look at the first 2 digits, 37. Find out where is 37 in the first column. 37 is here. Then look at where is 2 in your column. 37 is here and 2 is here, somewhere here. Here. And then next 4 for 37, 2, you find where is 4 here. So now I have to go to this number and add this number to this. That will become the log of 372. Let me explain you with the numbers. So now I am calculating the log of 372.4. The first step is calculate the number of digits before the decimal and minus 1 from it. So there are 3 digits. So it becomes 2 point, because I'm minusing 1 from 3, because there are 3 digits. The second is find out the intersect of the first, these 2 numbers. Intersect of 37 with 2. Intersect of 37 with 2 becomes 5705. And then I go into the second table, which is nothing but the second part of the table. Again, for the number 4, I go here. That becomes 5. So I just add 5705 and 5 together. So that becomes 57110 or 10. Why 2? Because I have minused 1 from here. So that is the log of 372.4. It becomes 2.5710. Just take another example, just for understanding whether you understood or not. I want to calculate the log of 41. So obviously, before the decimal, there are 2 points. So the log is anyways become 1 point something. So what is 1 point something? Now I go to number 41, because here 41 here. I go to 2, because there is a 2 here. And then I go to 5. I add 6149 and 5. that becomes 6154. So that's what is the log of the 41.250. 1.6150. 1 because there are two digits, I'm minusing 1, that becomes 1. Point, I'm going to look at the intersect of 41 with 2 and add this intersect of 5. So that is how the log is calculated. Now let's look at how anti-log is calculated. Now anti-log, again you have two tables. So you have another table where you have the numbers. Again, numbers are here starting from 0 and they are going up to 0.99. So this is what is the anti-log first column. Then we have row 0 to 9. And again we have another table 1 to 9. Let's take an example. If I want to calculate the anti-log of 4.1862, calculating anti-log of this. Now what you have to do is, which is the number before decimal? Number is 4. So the anti-log of this becomes 10 raised to 5 because this is 4 here. If it was 3 here, the anti-log would have become 10 raised to 4. If it was 2 here, the anti-log would have become 10 raised to 3. So you just add one number and make 10 raised to, because I told you the log uses 10 as a base, and that's why this becomes 10 raised to 5. Now forget about this number, then you go to 18 and 6 and 2. Look at 18 and the intersect of 6 is 1535 and then there's 1 here. So it becomes the 0.1536 raised to 10 raised to 5 into 10 raised to 5. 10 raised to 5 because 4 plus 1, that is 10 raised to 5. Intersect of 18 to 6 and addition of 2. So intersect of 18 with 6 and addition of the intersect of 1. And that becomes the value called as 0.1536 into 10 raised to 5. So my sincere suggestion to you all, today evening go to a general store and buy a logbook and practice calculating logs and anti-logs, because that's the basic thing that you would require for calculating the bioassay concentrations of the unknown solution. Now let's go to the final part of the discussion, which is nothing but the step-by-step calculation of 3-point bioassay. So let's go to the 3-point bioassay now. Don't get stressed out with these steps. I have added these steps to make it more simple. But most of the things we have already discussed. Only one thing that you need to remember is the formula. So until we discuss the matching assay, bracketing assay, interpolation assay, we did not look at any formula. So for 3-point bioassay, there is a formula. For 4-point bioassay, there is a formula. So let's go step by step. Step number 1. It is not different than what we did before. So you take the dose versus response by successive administration of rising concentration of a standard solution, because this is what technician would give you. You dilute them in a serial fashion. I told you how to dilute them, and you plot a DRC. Once the DRC, dose response curve, is plotted, fix it with the shellac solution. Now you don't have to do that because you are using softwares. So you just on the software, you calculate the DRC and find out the response of the contraction in terms of length in centimeter. This is what we did in the previous exercise also. Number 3 also is same. Now you prepare the table where you have the dose, response, convert this dose into log dose, convert response into percentage response. This was also done. The 4th step also we did. Draw the log dose on the x-axis and percentage response on the y-axis. So up to 4 steps, nothing is different. So what is now changing is we have to select S1, S2, T. Now how do I select this? That I will discuss in the coming slide, because selecting S1 and S2 is the most critical thing in the 3-point bioassay, because once you select S1 and S2, then we have to make a Latin square. And I'll also explain what is the meaning of Latin square randomization. So once you have S1, S2 and T, keep taking the responses until the T lies in between S1 and S2. So 2 things when you select S1 and S2. Number 1, S1 and S2. The S2 should be double of the S1. And second thing, both S1 and S2 should fall in the middle part of the DRC. I'll explain you in the example. So 2 things you remember how to select S1 and S2. Number 1, S2 should always be double than S1. And both responses of S1 and S2, they should fall in the middle part of the DRC. Because if they fall in the middle part, calculation becomes easy. Once you select this S1 and S2, then you go ahead and see the T should lie between the height of S1 and S2. And then once your S1, S2 and T are finalized, then you do a Latin square randomization. And once all values of Latin square randomization are done, then you take the mean values of S1, S2, S3, because Latin square will repeat this 3 times. Now, if you have 3 values, which value to be taken? You take the mean of it. And then use the formula. And I'm going to make you to by heart this formula. And anyways, you will remember, because I will be repeating this formula 4-5 times. And you will be anyways able to remember this formula. Once you keep all the values into this particular, it is easy to calculate the unknown concentration. So let's go step by step. So let's first go to make it easy, on your right side corner, I have kept all the 10 steps so that you can revisit them for 10 times so that you know what you're doing. So the first step is taking the dose response like DRC. So I'm taking the DRC here. So DRC started from 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128 and 256. This is the DRC of the standard solution. So on the y-axis, I have the centimeter, the length. And on the x-axis, we have the dosages. Now for those colleges who are using the software, it is very easy. Just keep clicking on the increasing dosage, double the strength, and you can find out the length in centimeter. But when you actually do it on an animal, this is not so easy. But because we are using software, this becomes extremely easy. We have to just keep increasing the concentration and keep looking at the height that you get. So now once the DRC has been calculated, the second step is check the responses in terms of centimeter, because this has been fixed on the chymograph in the shellac solution. It has been dried. That sheet has been given to me by someone who is maybe attendant. He has given me the sheet, and I have a scale. I will calculate what is the length of here, what is the length of this height, what is the length of this height, and so forth. Up to here, for each concentration, I would calculate the height. So number 2 is calculate the height of this response for each of this contraction. That is the second step, which we already had done this. The next step would be the dose has to be converted into log dose and the response has to be converted into percentage response. This was also done. So what I have done here is, instead of 2 columns that I had, now I'm making 4 columns. Now by now, you know what is the meaning of 100% response, the maximum response. And 2 response at maximum, this is called a ceiling response. So if this is 100, then what would be 6.5? What would be 4.25? What would be 3? And the mathematical calculation using Excel sheet becomes very easy, but that you can do simply by your mathematical formula. If 7.75 is 100, how much should be 1.5? How much should be 1.5 is 19.4%. Then same thing you calculate for, if 7.75 is 100, how much should be 1.75? 1.75 is 22.6. How much should be 2.5? It is about 32.3. So once you know what is 100 maximum, then you calculate the percentage for each of them. Now the next step would be to convert the dose into log dose. I told you you can use a log table, but here I'm going to use the Excel sheet. So Excel sheet has a function called equal to log. And because this is a common log, the base is 10. I want the log of 2. By now you know that whenever single digit is there, the value is going to become 0 point something. For 2 digits, the log is becoming 1 point something. And for 3 digits, the log will become 2 point something. So let's see what is the log of all of this. So you see, whenever the number is single, the log becomes 0 point. When there are 2 digits, log becomes 1 point. And when there are 3 digits, log becomes 2 point. And then we see what is the intersection on that log table. And this is how the log is. Whether you calculate using the Excel sheet or whether you calculate using the log table, the values will not change. Now we have everything ready. We can move on to the step number 4. Now we have to do a graph plot, plotting the graph. What plot has to be plotted? Graph has to be plotted, log dose and percentage. So now the log dose versus percentage response is my heading. On the y-axis, I'm going to take percentage, and on the x-axis, I'm going to take the log dose. Again, this would be called a semi-log, because only on x-axis I'm going to use the log, and y-axis is not a log. Again, those who have missed the discussion, why only on x-axis we are taking a log? Because these values are very large in number. Why I'm not converting this into log? Because these values are not very big. For plotting the scale, I have enough distance available. When you convert this into log, the graph becomes sigmoid, the middle part becomes straighter. So what I have done is now, I have labeled this graph as log dose versus percentage response. This is what is the log dose is here in microgram and percentage response is here. Now, once that is done, now my step number 4 also is done. Step number 5, selecting S1, S2 and T. How to select S1, S2, ST? Because this is what is the important in 3-point bioassay. So I told you that S1 and S2, they should lie in the middle part. Now, what is middle part is nothing but 25% and 75%. So somewhere here, it should lie. And S2 should be double than that of S1. If these two principles have to be followed in my graph or table, I have 3 values that I can take. I can take 8, 16, 32. Because the percentage response should be between 25 to 75. These 3 values have a response between 25 to 75. I can choose any 2 values. But S1 should be double than the, sorry, S2 should be double than that of S1. So I have a choice of using 8 and 16, or I can use 16 and 32. Both are fine. But I would go with the demonstration purpose, I will go with 16 and 32. Once again, I'm repeating how S1, S2 and T are selected. First, you select S1 and S2. 2 principles should be followed. S2 should be double than that of S1. And both of their percentage responses, they should lie between 25 to 75. Now, only these 3 numbers are falling between 25 to 75. The second principle is which is double. Then I can use 8 and 32. Sorry, 8 and 16 or 16 and 32. I cannot use 8 and 32 because in that case, S2 will not double the S1. So I can use either 8 and 16 or I can use 16 and 32. So those would be my S1 and S2. Now the response of T should fall between S1 and S2. So now here, I go to the next one. Select the T now in such a way that your concentration of T or the quantity should be giving you response between S1 and S2. So now we go and see which value for T will give me response between S1 and S2. Until I do that, I'll keep repeating the DRC. So S1, I know I have taken 16. S2, I have taken 32. I can take any quantity of T1 here. For example, I have taken 0.1 ml. I don't know what is the microgram here, but I have taken 0.1 ml. I got only minor response. But my theory says that this response should fall between these two. Then I double the concentration. T is coming here. S1, S2 is here. Again, it is not falling between because it's still smaller than the both of them. But here at 0.4, my response is falling between S1 and S2. So that 0.4 becomes my test concentration for going ahead for the step number 6. So now with the step number 6, I have everything. I have S1, S2, I have T. How did I come to T? The T should be falling between S1 and S2. How did I make sure that it is falling between these two? Increasing successive concentration until I find a number which is going in between these two. Now these are 3 concentrations. Remember these 3 concentrations: 16, 32 and 0.4, because these numbers are useful for calculation putting into formula. So I'm going to use 16, I'm going to use 32 and I'm going to use 0.4. But before that, I have to go to the next step, which is called as the Latin square design. Once I select S1, S2 and T, I will go for the Latin square design. Now, what is the meaning of Latin square design basically is, we are all from the second year, either teachers or maybe students who teach second year students. So just imagine period 1 is pharmacology, period 2 is microbiology, and period 3 is pathology. And we're going to take practical examination of the students. So this is pharmacology. And these students were divided into 3 batches. So the batch A comes to pharmacology first, batch 2 goes to pathology, and batch 3 goes to microbiology. Tomorrow, S2 batch comes to pharmacology. The T batch goes to pathology, and S1 batch goes to microbiology. So S1, S2, T, then S2, T, S1, and T S1 S2. This is called as Latin square randomization. The batches will not get repeated in pharmacology. Why would they give a repeat examination in pharmacology? So this is what is called as the Latin square design. No batch is repeated. No number is repeated in 3. So S1, S2, T. So simple. S1, S2, T. Now you start with S2. S2, T, S1. Now you start with T. T, S1, S2. So this is called as the Latin square. Now you know what is the concentration of S1. It is 16. You know what is the concentration of S2. It is 32. And you know what is the ml. It is 0.4 ml. So with this Latin square, you repeat this DRC 3 times. First you do S1, S2, T. Then you do ST, T, S1. And then you do T, S1, S2. So complete this DRC 3 times. Repeat this. Now, with these 3 different numbers, you check out the length of the centimeter. How much centimeter you got for S1? You got 3. Here also you got 3. Here also you got 3. For S2 here you got 4.25 centimeter. Here also you got the same thing. Here also you got the same thing. For T you got 3.25. Here you got again same. Why this is coming same? Because you're using the software. In the software you just press S1, it gives the same response. But in real life, when you actually do the calculations using the real life guinea pig, then the contraction may not be exactly same. You are lucky you are using softwares, so the numbers will not change, they will remain the same. But imagine in real life you're putting this concentration into guinea pig ileum's contact, the concentration will not be same every time. That is where you have to calculate the mean of this. So the mean of all 3 S1s, mean of all S2s, and mean of all T's. So that would be my next step. So these are my means. I have added one more column here. So the mean of S1, every time I got 3. S2, every time I got 4.25. Every time I got 3.25. So now the means are here. Again, I'm repeating, the numbers will remain the same when you're using software, but the numbers will change when you actually work on the real animal isolated tissue. So now we are concerned about the mean value. This is what we're going to use for calculation. Why we did 3-point bioassay? Because we wanted to have a Latin square 3 times contraction just to see whether we get the sensitivity and specificity right. And that is where we have gone to take the 3 responses. The most important thing now is to understand the formula and remove every clutter from your brain and look at this formula. This formula has to be by-hearted. Concentration of unknown is equal to N1 divided by T into anti-log of large square bracket T minus S1 divided by S2 minus S1 into log of N2 divided by N1, small bracket close, large bracket close. First, let me tell you the mathematical principles, how this brackets work. Large bracket and a smaller bracket inside. The mathematical calculation first has to be done for the smaller bracket. And then you do the calculation for the larger bracket. So first I will have to calculate the log of N2 divided by N1, multiply this by these numbers. And of all of this, we have to take an anti-log. So by now we know what is, how to take a log, how to take an anti-log. So I'm going to repeat this formula for 3 times so that you also can remember. And for my request to the PG students who are listening to this talk, you should write down this formula in your notebook 10 times. And 11th time, you don't look at the notebook and you try to write down. So the formula is N1 divided by T into anti-log of T minus S1 divided by S2 minus S1 into log of N2 divided by N1. I'm going to repeat it 2 more times. Concentration of unknown is equal to N1 divided by T into anti-log of T minus S1 divided by S2 minus S1 into log of N2 divided by N1, bracket close. Last time I'm repeating it. Concentration of unknown is equal to N1 divided by T into anti-log of T minus S1 divided by S2 minus S1 into log of N2 divided by N1. Now let me tell you what is the meaning of all of these words. So N1 stands for so Cu is, we know what is the Cu. It's a concentration of unknown. That is what we did experiment for calculating the concentration. N1 is the lower standard dose. In my case, it was 16. lower standard dose was 16 microgram. T is the test dose, unknown concentration. It was 0.4 ml. So this is 16, this is 0.4. T is the height or response of T, 0.4 ml. How much is the response that I have got here? I have got 3.25. So T would be 3.25. For S1, what is the response that I got? I got 3 as a response. For S2, how much is the response that I got? 4.25. For S1, how much response I got is the 3. So what will the formula will be like now? 16 divided by 0.4 into T is 3.25 minus 3, 4.25 minus 3 into log of 32 divided by 16, because the larger dose was 32, smaller dose was 16. So here also 16, here also 16, here 32, and here the mean values of these numbers. And this is 0.4 ml. Then you take the log first here. So log of 32 divided by 16, 32 divided by 16. So it will be log of 2. And we know what would be the log of 2. It would be something like 0 point something. Let's do this calculation. T minus S1. 3.25 minus 3. It will be 0.25. Divided by 4.25 minus 3. It will be something 1.25. And then put these values into the numbers. So N1 is the smaller concentration of the known standard, which is 16. T is the response shown by the contraction, which is test solution. It was shown as 0.4 ml. Antilog of 3.25, it has come from here. S1 is 3. S2 is, it is coming from here, 4.25 minus 3 into log of 32 divided by 16. So 32 divided by 16 becomes 2, log of 2. Here it would be 0.25 divided by 1.25. Let's do the mathematical calculation. 16 divided by 0.4 into anti-log of 3.25 minus 3, 4.25 minus 3 into log of 16 divided by 2. It will be log of 2. I told you that whenever there is a single digit, it is going to become 0 point. So log of 2 is 0.3010. This is a common log. This is not a natural log. If you see the natural log of 2, it would be 0.69. This is a common log, and that's why the value is 0.30. So now it's very simple. 16 divided by 0.4 is 40. 40 into anti-log of 0.2 into 0.3010, which means I have to calculate the anti-log of 0.062 into 40. The simple mathematical calculation is anti-log, because it's a common log which uses 10 as a base. So 10 raised to this much. So 10 raised to this much into 60, into 40. So the concentration of unknown is 46 microgram per ml. So here you can see the calculation that I have done. 10 raised to 0.062 is coming 1.15. So this value is coming 1.15. 1.15 multiplied by 40, that becomes 46. So the concentration of unknown is 46. Once again, I'm repeating the formula just for your visual representation. I had kept it here. So concentration of unknown is equal to N1 divided by T into anti-log of square bracket T minus S1 divided by S2 minus S1 into log of N2 divided by N1. So that is what is the concentration. Now the anti-log, if you want to calculate, you look at the percentage. So percentage response is here, 42%, 41 point something. Anti-log by graphical method, that was by mathematical calculation. So I can do the graphical method also, because I have seen that 3.25 is what I have got the response. If the maximum concentration is 100, my 3.2 is giving me 42%. So again, I do the same calculation. I go back here and the log dose is 1.3. I will calculate the anti-log of 1.3. So either you use but the formula is better. Now the last slide about 4-point bioassay. I told you that Latin square for 3-point was S1, S2, T. Here, now instead of pathology, microbiology, pharmacology, community medicine also wants to take an exam. So instead of 3 batches, now we convert this group into 4 batches, A, B, C, D. One batch goes to pharmac, one batch goes to micro, one batch goes to pathology, one batch goes to community medicine. And no repeat examination happens in any department. So you start with A, B, C, D, then you follow B, C, D, A, then you start with C, C, D, A, B, then you start with D, D, E, D, A, B, C. And now the formula is different. So don't go into the details of 4-point bioassay, because most of the times we've been asked to do the 3-point bioassay. But now you know what is the meaning of N1, lower concentration. T is the contraction shown by the unknown. T2 minus S1 plus T1 minus S2 divided by T2 minus T1 plus S2 minus S1 into log of higher concentration divided by lower concentration into concentration, which is the known concentration. So this formula you remember, which is the 3-point bioassay. So before I take my last slide, I will repeat once again the formula. The 3-point bioassay unknown concentration can be calculated by using formula N1 divided by T into anti-log of T minus S1 divided by S2 minus S1 into log of N2 divided by N1. So that's my last slide. And I summarize the 3-point bioassay. Once again, the 10 steps. First step, you take the DRC. After you take the DRC, you measure the length in centimeter. Then prepare a maybe table, dose, response, convert dose into log dose, convert response into percentage response, draw the log dose versus response, identify S1, S2, and T. S2 should be double than S1, and both of them should fall in the middle part, that is 25 to 75% response, and T should fall between S1 and S2. And then go for the Latin square design, S1, S2, T, S2, T, S1, and likewise. And then calculate the mean of all of these values and write down that formula. Now, once again, I repeat the formula. Concentration of unknown can be calculated for 3-point bioassay using formula Cu is equal to N1 divided by T into anti-log of square bracket T minus S1 divided by S2 minus S1 into log of N2 divided by N1, and then square bracket close. So that's the formula. So this is the last slide of summary. Bioassay is nothing but the estimation of the quantity, either qualitatively or quantitatively. You can estimate the unknown using either whole animal or using the isolated tissue, that is called as bioassay. Different types of bioassay that we discussed today: matching bioassay, interpolation bioassay, 3-point bioassay, and 4-point. Matching is just you match the unknown contraction with unknown concentration contraction with the known contraction and do simple mathematical calculation. Bracketing is you bracket the unknown concentration in between two standard concentrations. Interpolation is you calculate the draw the graph and put the anti-log log and put the horizontal and vertical line and see anti-log calculation. 3-point bioassay, we spoke about those 10 points, and we also discussed the formula. And log and anti-log calculation, I have given you exercise to buy a log table today and maybe do 10 exercises of calculating log and anti-log. We spoke about those 10 steps of 10-point bioassay using that mathematical formula. So with this, I once again thank Krutik for all the coordination, Anupama madam for giving me the opportunity, and Panwar sir for arranging this session. So with this, I thank you and I stop my presentation. Let me stop presentation. I can see all 250 participants still listening.
Yes, sir.
So thank you so much.
So we have had, sir, plenty of individuals joining from all around the colleges of the India. And for this moment, I'd like to thank each and every individual of our team, our co-residents and colleagues who have been working tirelessly behind the screens for this webinar to get conducted successfully. I'd like to put forward that if the individuals have much more of doubts or queries, they could reach out to us via the email, and we would be communicating that to you, sir, after the session. And for the PPT or the recordings of the sessions, we'd like to provide a clarification. If it would be provided by the Google Doc teams, we'll be sending it to the email after the conduction of the session. And regarding the certificates would be issued by tomorrow evening, and they would be the participants would be able to download them within 3 days of their issue date. So I request everyone to download them during the time duration, and after that it won't be possible from our end to reissue the certificates to each and every individuals who have joined the session. And after the conduction of the session, it brings me immense pleasure to be a host of this wonderful session, which has come to an end. And thank you so much, sir, for this informative sessions. I hope all the PGs and the colleagues have found it very informative on their part.